This is the reason a lot of people avoid checking their bank account no matter how much they earn. They think the problem is discipline, so they promise themselves, I'll start tracking. They tell themselves, I'll look tomorrow. They say, I just need to get paid first. And sometimes they do get paid, but the pattern stays. Because for many people, avoiding their bank account isn't only a money habit. It's a psychological system, a nervous system pattern, a survival habit the brain learned and never unlearned. Now let's be real before we go deeper. For millions of people, money is genuinely tight. Rent is high, food is expensive, healthcare is brutal, wages don't match reality. That's not mindset, that's math. But psychology gets interesting when you notice this. Some people could check and still don't. Some people want to face it and still close the app. Some people know avoiding makes it worse and still avoid anyway. So what's happening? The first big reason is something psychologists would call anticipatory anxiety. Anticipatory anxiety isn't the fear of the number. It's the fear of the feeling. It's the fear of the emotional hit you expect to take. What if I'm back at $0? What if I overspent again? What if I forgot a bill? What if it's worse than I think? So the brain does what it always does under threat. It delays. Because delay creates temporary safety. And once your brain learns that avoiding reduces anxiety, even for a moment, it starts rewarding avoidance. That's why avoidance becomes a habit. Not because you don't care, because it works briefly. Which leads to the next reason. Your bank account becomes emotional regulation. When people are stressed, overwhelmed, or emotionally tired, the brain looks for relief. Not next week. Now. And one of the easiest ways to get now relief is to avoid the thing that triggers stress. So instead of checking your balance, you distract yourself. You scroll, you snack, you watch something. You do anything that keeps you from facing the number. To an outsider, it looks like procrastination, but psychologically, it's self-soothing. The problem is, avoidance is addictive because it works, briefly. You feel better for a moment. Then the anxiety returns, then the guilt hits, then the fear grows. So the cycle becomes dread, avoidance. Temporary relief, guilt, bigger problem, more dread. And that cycle can keep someone avoiding their bank account even when their income is fine. Because the avoidance isn't about the money. It's about mood. Now let's talk about a major reason this gets worse over time, shame. But shame isn't just, I made a mistake. Shame is, something is wrong with me. So the bank account stops being a tool. It becomes a verdict, a report card, a mirror. And every time you check, it doesn't just show you numbers. It feels like it shows you, look how behind you are. Look how irresponsible you are. Look how you always end up here, even if nobody else sees it. Your nervous system feels judged, so you avoid, because avoidance protects you from shame. Now here's another psychological concept that quietly keeps people stuck, learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is what happens when your brain starts believing that effort won't change the outcome. If checking your account has only ever shown bad news, if every time you look, you feel trapped, if the numbers always feel like not enough, your brain concludes, what's the point? And once the brain decides something is pointless pain, it avoids it automatically. Not because you're lazy, because your mind is trying to reduce suffering. Now let's add another big driver, all or nothing thinking. A lot of people avoid checking because checking feels like it comes with a whole job. If I look, I'll have to fix it. If I see the truth, I'll have to deal with it. If I open the app, I'm opening a door to decisions. Cancel subscriptions, move money around, face bills, admit mistakes, make calls, do math. So the brain makes a deal. If I can't do all of that right now, I won't look at all. That's all or nothing. And it's one of the biggest reasons people stay stuck. Because checking becomes this huge emotional project instead of a simple action. Now here's the deeper truth most people miss. Avoidance preserves hope. This is subtle, but powerful. When you don't check your account, you can still imagine, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it'll work out. Not knowing protects the fantasy, and sometimes the fantasy is what keeps someone calm, because checking collapses fantasy. Checking forces reality. And for a nervous system that already feels overloaded, reality can feel like too much, so they avoid. Not because they want chaos, because they're trying to stay emotionally stable. But here's the price. Avoidance creates fog, and fog makes money problems worse. You miss small issues until they become emergencies, late fees, overdrafts, charges you forgot existed. bills that hit unexpectedly. So the very thing you avoided to reduce stress creates more stress. Now let's talk about why avoidance can feel so automatic. Conditioning. If your nervous system has repeatedly associated checking with stress, your body starts responding before your mind even catches up. Tight chest, stomach drop, racing thoughts, a wave of dread. That's not weakness, that's conditioning. Your body learned banking app equals threat, so it tries to protect you the way it would protect you from any threat, by turning away. Now let's talk about what happens next. Identity. Some people don't just avoid checking, they become someone who avoids checking. They start telling themselves, I'm just not good with money. I'll deal with it later. And here's the scary part. Your brain will protect your identity, even if it hurts you. Because identity feels stable. So if your identity is, I can't handle money, your brain will keep proving it, even when you try. Then there's comparison pressure, especially in the US. Because people compare their private reality to other people's public lifestyle, vacations, new cars, shopping hauls. So checking your account doesn't just feel stressful, it can feel humiliating, like you're falling behind. Now, what do you do if you recognize yourself in this? You don't start with shame, you start with a better question. What emotion is my avoidance protecting me from? Fear, regret, embarrassment, overwhelm, hopelessness? Because once you name the emotion, you can change the behavior. And then you stop relying on motivation, because motivation is unstable. You build systems. The simplest system is this: micro-checking. Open the app, look for 5 seconds, close it, no judgment, no spiraling, no fixing. Because the goal isn't to solve everything in one moment. The goal is to retrain your nervous system, to teach your brain, checking is safe. Data is not a verdict. Numbers are not identity. Then you create a calm routine. Same day every week, same time, not during panic. And here's the most important truth. Most people aren't afraid of their bank account. They're afraid of what it will make them feel about themselves. But awareness is self-respect. It's you saying, I'm not going to abandon myself, even if the number is low, even if you made mistakes. Because ignoring it doesn't protect you. It only protects the temporary comfort of not knowing. And not knowing is expensive. If this video described your life a little too accurately, don't scroll. Like, share, and subscribe for more.